لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Performing congregational prayer at home, which is now becoming the norm for many families, alhamdulillah. How to arrange the rows. If there are two males, then the Imam will stand in his position with the muqtadi, the person who's following him, to his right, one step behind. If there are two males following the Imam, then they will make a row behind the Imam, standing together. If there are children as well, and there is plenty of room, the children will make a row behind the row of males. If there is a shortage of space, the children can sort of join on to the end of the adult row. They won't stand in between it. If there are sisters too, then the ideal situation is you have the Imam at the front, then you have the row of adult males, then you have the children, and then you have the females in a line. If space is a problem, then there are various arrangements that can be made. The Imam can stand in the middle of the males. They can stand to his sides, one step behind, some to his right and some to his left. If there's a separate row of children and the space for this, fine. Otherwise they can tag on to the ends of the rows of the adult males, and then a separate row can be made for sisters behind the row of males, whether or not there's a children's row in between. If there is only one female and one male, or there is one male and several females, the male will lead and the female will stand 4 feet behind the male, not by the side. And if there are multiple females and one male, they will stand in a row and the male will stand separately ahead of them. So these are virtually all of the scenarios in which we would make our congregational prayer. An additional point to remember is that if there is only one male, he can give the iqama, the takbir, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, to the end, as well as leading the prayer. He'll do both. And by all means give the adhan in the house, as long as it's not going to be a source of disturbance to neighbors or anybody else. There's a definite barakah in that. So if your house is spacious enough and it's not going to be a cause of disturbance to neighbors, then the adhan should be given in the house. There's an extra blessing there. If it is, it's better, there's a reward. And the iqamah will be given with all congregational prayers. Another point here, just to finish off, is that we can create the spirit of ibadah by allocating a space for salah in the house as an option. It can be performed in any room, any appropriate room, but if there's enough space, then a room can be dedicated for this, and this can be a place where everybody sits to read Quran and to perform salah. And if there isn't any specific room, then too at prayer times, by laying out a sheet or prayer mats, we can create an environment of salah which may be a source of help in focusing. The prayer mats are laid out to ensure that we're performing salah in a clean place, but because of that association with salah, it creates that environment in which people are focused on salah. The other thing to do is to fix prayer times as much as this is possible, to perform the congregational prayer at a fixed time. Maghrib should be performed as soon as the sun sets, and the other prayers can be performed with a little delay. It's appropriate to perform them in good time though. So this is another focal point. Now what would then happen is, very much like inside the masajid, once we know that namaz, salah is happening at this particular time, people can begin to assemble. So whoever has done wudu can come and sit in their place and wait for the others and invite them to salah as well. And the consequence of this will be, within days, inshallah, you will see that there's a fixed pattern, and the adults and the children alike all gather for salah where there are several family members. So this will be a source of huge barakah, and it's something, frankly, which should be continued after lockdown, on the days when we are not able to come to the masjid, or if we live far from the masjid. the reality is that we should come to the masjid regularly, and the young should come frequently too. But in the absence of that, this is a better situation rather than some people performing salah individually and others not performing it at all. So there's a lot of khair in this. And finally, the final word here is, this gives us an opportunity to do other ibadat together as well, to establish a halaqah of dhikr in which everybody is doing some dhikr and tasbih, or everybody is reciting Quran, and those members of the family, sisters for example, who are not in a position to perform salah, can also join those gatherings by engaging in the recitation of du'as and tasbih. So an ideal example is Al-Hizbul A'zam by Mullah Ali Qari, which is a collection of du'as which has been conveniently been divided into 7 sections, one for each day of the week. They're all masnoon du'as, ma'thur du'as, and so this gives us an opportunity to go through those du'as which we might not otherwise recite. So this is a very powerful approach to ensuring that we're asking Allah for everything that we could possibly ask for. There's also munajat maqbool. There are other collections of masnoon du'as. There's also books that we can go through for du'as, such as Al-Hisnul Hasin, a classic on this subject. So it's something which we ought to do. And so this means that those who can't perform salah can also participate in this gathering. And another element, which is the icing on the cake, the cherry, if you like, is that we use this opportunity to read from a book something about deen, the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. Fadail of Ramadan is an appropriate selection at this point of the year, this time of the year, so that everybody can learn. And this is a silent way of doing da'wah. Rather than lecturing one another, if we pick up a book about salah and its virtues, about zakah and its virtues, about hajj and its virtues, about sawm and its virtues, about dhikr and its virtues, about salat and salam upon Rasulullah and its virtues, about the Sahaba and their virtues and status and rank, what will happen is that this message will be shared in a very positive environment, and it will not fail in having an impact. This is a tried and tested approach inside the household. Over decades, the mashayikh have always encouraged it. It's a very nice way of coming together in the name of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah grant me tawfiq and you too. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.